I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic in December, so I made a New Year's resolution to cut sugar completely to save my life. My husband promised to support me and took over the meal prep. But for the last 3 days, my blood sugar kept spiking, and I felt sick constantly. This morning, I walked into the kitchen early and nearly fainted when I saw what actually my husband was doing. I am a woman who loves food. I always have. It has been a love language in my family, a source of comfort during stress, and the centerpiece of every celebration. But last month, that relationship turned toxic. My doctor sat me down in her sterile, white office, holding a folder full of lab results that would change my life. She looked over her glasses at me, her expression grim. "You are pre-diabetic, Sarah," she said. "Your A1C is 6.4. That is the very edge of the cliff. If you don't make drastic changes now, you are looking at type 2 diabetes by next year. We are talking about insulin shots. We are talking about kidney issues. We are talking about nerve damage and vision loss. You are 32 years old. You are too young for this." I sat there, stunned. The paper in her hand felt like a death sentence. I want to have kids. I want to travel without worrying about carrying a cooler for medication. I don't want to be managing a chronic illness for the rest of my life because I couldn't say no to pasta. So I made a vow. I dried my tears in the parking lot and decided that starting January 1st, I was going 0 sugar. No processed carbs, no hidden sweeteners, whole foods only. It was going to be the hardest thing I had ever done, but I had to do it. My husband, Mark, was amazing about it, or so I thought. Mark is a phenomenal cook. He loves being in the kitchen. He's the guy who cures his own bacon and makes sourdough from a starter he named Steve. When I came home that night, eyes red and puffy, and told him the news, he didn't sigh. He didn't complain about having to change our dinner routine. He hugged me. He held me tight and said, "We're in this together, babe. I love you. I want you around for a long time. I'll handle the meal prep. I'll make sure everything is compliant. You just focus on the gym and keeping your stress down. I'll take care of the food." I felt so lucky. Most partners complain about diet changes. I had friends whose husbands would eat pizza in front of them while they ate salad. But Mark was enthusiastic. He spent New Year's Eve throwing away all the junk food. He cleared out the pantry. He bought a stack of glass Tupperware containers. He made a color-coded spreadsheet of macronutrients. "I'm going to make you the best food you've ever tasted," he promised. "You won't even miss the sugar." January 1st came, day one of the rest of my life. I woke up feeling motivated. I went to the gym. I came home to the smell of breakfast. Mark presented me with a plate of egg white frittata with spinach and turkey sausage. It was delicious. I felt good. I felt supported. Mark handed me my lunch bag as I left for work. "Grilled chicken, steamed broccoli, and cauliflower mash," he said, kissing my forehead. "Low carb, high protein. Text me how it is." At 1 p.m., I sat at my desk and opened the container. It looked healthy. It smelled savory. I ate it. It tasted good. Maybe a little sweeter than I expected for plain chicken, but Mark made his own spice blends, so I figured it was just paprika or maybe some caramelized onions I couldn't see. By 2 p.m., the crash hit. It wasn't just a post-lunch slump. It was a physical assault on my system. My heart started racing. My hands started shaking. I felt a deep, unquenchable thirst that water couldn't fix. My head pounded. I felt jittery and exhausted at the same time, like I had chugged 3 espressos and then taken a sleeping pill. I pulled out the blood glucose monitor the doctor gave me. I pricked my finger. I waited for the countdown. 180 mg/dl. I stared at the number. 180? That didn't make sense. I had eaten chicken and broccoli. There were 0 carbs in that meal. My sugar should have been stable. I texted Mark. "Me, babe, that lunch was good, but my sugar just spiked to 180. Did you use a marinade?" "Mark, no, just salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Maybe it's a stress spike. Or maybe your body is just dumping stored glucose because you cut carbs so fast. Give it time." I trusted him. He was right. Bodies are weird. Maybe I was just adjusting. January 2nd, day 2. Breakfast was keto, pancakes made with almond flour. Lunch was leftover pork loin and green beans. By 3 p.m., I was in the bathroom at work, splashing cold water on my face because I thought I was going to pass out. My vision was blurry. I felt nauseous. I checked my sugar. 195 mg/dl. I was panicking. I wasn't eating sugar. I was drinking water. I was exercising. Why was my body failing me? I called my doctor. She sounded skeptical. "Sarah, are you sure you aren't sneaking snacks? A number like 195 doesn't happen from almond flour. Those numbers indicate a high carbohydrate intake. You need to be honest with me. If you are cheating on the diet, I can't help you." "I swear," I cried, hiding in a stall so my coworkers wouldn't hear. "I am eating exactly what my husband makes. Nothing else. I am starving myself, basically." "Maybe check the labels," she suggested coldly. "Sometimes sugar-free products have hidden maltodextrin." I went home feeling defeated. I felt like my body was broken. I felt like I was failing before I even started. Mark met me at the door. He rubbed my back and led me to the couch. "It's okay, honey," he soothed. "Maybe this diet isn't right for you. Maybe your body just needs carbs. Some people aren't meant to be skinny. Maybe you just need to accept your body the way it is. I love you no matter what size you are. I love you soft." It sounded sweet. It sounded accepting. But there was something in his voice. A note of relief. A note of satisfaction. He brought me dinner, a low-carb beef stew. I took 2 bites and felt my stomach turn. It tasted like candy, not meat, candy. "Mark, this is sweet," I said. "It's the carrots," he said quickly. "I roasted them first to bring out the natural sugars. It's fine." I didn't eat the rest. I went to bed hungry and scared. This morning, January 4th, I woke up at 5 a.m. I couldn't sleep. My mouth was dry as sandpaper. My head was splitting. I needed water. I decided to get up and make my own tea, maybe check the pantry to see if Mark had accidentally bought the wrong kind of sauce or seasoning. I needed to solve this mystery because I felt like I was going crazy. I walked down the stairs quietly. I didn't want to wake Mark. The house was dark, shadows stretching across the floor. But as I got closer to the kitchen, I saw a light. The under-cabinet light over the stove was on. And I heard a sound. Squish, squelch. It was a soft, wet sound, like liquid being forced through a small opening. I stopped in the doorway. Mark was standing at the island. He was wearing his boxers and a t-shirt. His back was to me. He had my meal prep containers lined up on the counter, the ones for the rest of the week. The chicken breasts, the mashed cauliflower, the zucchini noodles. In his hand, he held a large plastic syringe, the kind with a thick metal needle that you use to inject marinade into a turkey for Thanksgiving. Next to him on the stove was a small saucepan. It had clearly just been boiled. There was no steam, but the liquid inside was thick and clear. I watched, paralyzed, as he dipped the syringe into the pot. He drew up the plunger. The barrel filled with the thick, clear liquid. He moved to the container holding my grilled chicken. He inserted the needle deep into the meat. He pushed the plunger. I watched the chicken breast swell slightly as it absorbed the liquid. He did it again and again. Then he moved to the mashed cauliflower. He injected the liquid into the center of the mash and stirred it slightly to hide the hole. I sniffed the air. It didn't smell like chicken stock. It didn't smell like garlic. It didn't smell like butter. It smelled sweet, sickly, cloyingly sweet, like a carnival, like cotton candy and spun sugar. It smelled like simple syrup, sugar and water, boiled down to a super concentrated sludge. I stood there, frozen in the dark hallway. My brain refused to compute what I was seeing. It was like looking at an alien landscape. My husband, the man who held my hand while I cried about my diagnosis, the man who promised to help me save my life, was injecting liquid sugar into my diabetic-friendly meals. He wasn't cooking for me. He was poisoning me. "Mark," I whispered. The word barely left my lips, but in the silent kitchen, it sounded like a gunshot. He spun around. The syringe clattered onto the granite counter, dripping sticky liquid onto the floor. His eyes went wide. He looked like a deer caught in headlights, if the deer was holding a weapon and wearing a guilty expression that could shatter glass. "Sarah," he stammered, putting his hands behind his back as if to hide the evidence, realizing too late he had already dropped the syringe. You're up early, I was just prepping." I walked into the room. My legs felt heavy, but my mind was sharpening into a point of pure, cold clarity. I pointed at the pot. "What is that? What is in the syringe?" It's broth," he lied, his voice cracked. "To keep the chicken moist. It gets dry in the fridge after a few days. I didn't want you to have dried chicken." "Broth?" I asked. I walked over to the pot. I didn't look at him. I looked at the liquid. It was viscous. It coated the sides of the pan. Broth doesn't move like that. Syrup moves like that. I dipped my finger into the pot. It was still warm. I put my finger in my mouth. It was pure sugar. It was so sweet it made my teeth ache. It wasn't just sugar. It tasted like he had dissolved 20 cups of sugar into a cup of water. It was essentially glucose syrup. "Broth," I screamed, the taste of betrayal exploding on my tongue. "It's sugar water. You are injecting sugar into my food. Concentrated sugar." He flinched. He tried to grab my arm. "Babe, listen, you need the energy. You've been so tired lately. I was just trying to help. Your body is going into shock without the carbs." "Help," I shoved him away. I wiped my mouth, disgusted. "I am pre-diabetic, Mark. My sugar was 210 yesterday. I felt like I was going to pass out. You are literally killing me. You are destroying my pancreas. Why would you do this?" He crumbled. The facade of the caring husband evaporated. He leaned against the counter and put his head in his hands. He started to cry. Not silent tears, but ugly, heaving sobs. And then he said the thing that ended our marriage. The truth that had been rotting underneath the surface. "I didn't want you to lose the weight," he mumbled into his hands. "What?" I asked, breathless. He looked up. His eyes were red. "If you get skinny, if you get healthy, you'll leave me. You'll realize you can do better. You'll get confident and you'll find some gym guy who looks better than me. I like you the way you are. I like taking care of you. I like when you need me." I stared at him. The insecurity, the manipulation, the absolute disregard for my health, my life, my future. He would rather I be sick, lethargic, and dependent on him than healthy and independent. He would rather risk me going blind from diabetes than risk me buying a smaller size of jeans. He wasn't supporting me. He was sabotaging me to keep me trapped. He was chemically restraining me with glucose. I backed away from him. I felt like I was in a horror movie. The man I slept next to, the man I trusted with my body and my food, was a predator. "You risked my life," I said, my voice shaking with a cold rage I had never felt before. "My kidneys, my vision, my fertility. You risked it all because you're insecure, because you're afraid I might look good in a dress." "I love you," he sobbed, reaching for me again. "I just wanted us to stay the same. I didn't want you to change." "We aren't the same," I said. "I am leaving." I didn't wait for him to respond. I turned and ran. I ran upstairs. I grabbed my purse. I grabbed my keys. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't grab clothes. I didn't want to take anything from that house that might be contaminated with his lies. "Sarah, wait," he screamed from the kitchen. "Don't go, I can fix it, I'll stop." I ran out the front door into the cold morning air. I got in my car. I locked the doors. As I backed out of the driveway, I saw him standing in the doorway, still holding the syringe he had picked up, looking like a monster. I drove straight to my doctor's office. I sat in the parking lot for 2 hours until they opened at 8 a.m. I walked in, hysterical, crying, shaking. The receptionist thought I was having a heart attack. I told the doctor everything. "He was injecting sugar into my food," I sobbed. "Please test me. Tell me I'm not crazy." She was horrified. She took my blood immediately. My fasting glucose, which should have been around 90, was still 160 from the dinner he fed me last night. "This is assault," the doctor said, her face stern as she typed into my chart. "He is tampering with your food in a way that causes bodily harm. This isn't a marital spat, Sarah. This is poisoning. You need to call the police." I did. I filed a report right there in the exam room. I showed the officer the photos I had snapped of the syringe and the pot before I ran out the door. My survival instinct had kicked in for 3 seconds amidst the panic. Then I called my brother, Mike. Mike is 64 and has zero patience for bullies. When I told him what Mark did, he didn't say a word. He just said, "I'm on my way to get your stuff." He went over to the house with a police escort to get my clothes and my laptop. Mark was there. He tried to stop them. He tried to claim it was a misunderstanding. But the police saw the syringe. They saw the pot of syrup still on the stove because Mark had been too paralyzed to clean it up. While Mike was packing my things, he found Mark's laptop open on the coffee table. Mark had been frantically trying to delete things, but he wasn't fast enough. Mike checked the browser history. It wasn't just insecurity. It wasn't just a fear of me leaving. Mark had an account on a feeder forum, a community of men who get sexual gratification from making women gain weight, often against their will or without their knowledge. He had been posting updates about me for months. User, Hubby Chef. Post title, Operation Plump is a go. Content, she thinks she's on a diet, LOL. I swapped her protein powder for mass gainer. I'm injecting heavy cream into her soups. She's gained 5 pounds this month and thinks it's muscle. She looks so soft and helpless. Can't wait until she can't fit in her work pants. He had posted photos. Photos of me eating the meals he tampered with. Photos of me sleeping. Photos of me from behind that he took without my consent. He wasn't just scared I would leave. He was getting off on making me sick. He was getting off on controlling my body. He was treating me like a science experiment for his own twisted pleasure. My brother called me from the house. "Sarah," he said, his voice thick with disgust, "you are never going back there. I got the laptop. The cops took it as evidence." I am currently staying at my brother's house. I have filed for an emergency protective order. I have filed for divorce. My lawyer says that given the medical tampering and the non-consensual photos, we have grounds for criminal charges, not just civil ones. I threw away every single piece of food he ever made me. I bought my own groceries today. Fresh vegetables, lean protein, no sugar. I checked my blood sugar an hour ago. It's 110. It's going down. I am going to get healthy. I am going to reverse this diagnosis, and I am going to do it without him. He wanted to keep me soft and dependent. He wanted to make me heavy so I couldn't run. Instead, he made me harder than I have ever been. He forged a woman who will never, ever let someone else control her plate again. Mark called me from a blocked number an hour ago. "I can explain," he said. "The forum, it was just fantasy. I didn't mean to hurt you." "My A1C isn't a fantasy, Mark," I said. "My potential kidney failure isn't a fantasy. You poisoned me. Do not contact me again." I hung up. So, dear viewers, was I wrong for walking out on him?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.